I think this is fake.
You can't say that.
I can say that.
Wrestling's not fake!
It's still real to me, damn it!
The unscripted, uncensored, loose cannon of commentary. This ain't WCW. This ain't Monday Night Raw. This ain't SmackDown. This ain't even WWE.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
The recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
You're listening to Marks on Commentary.
You're listening to Marks on Commentary. I'm Eddie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
Something of a delayed reaction on Jason's part.
Sorry.
He's too busy reading the itinerary for tonight. We very rarely get these for this show.
Yeah, I felt like, I don't know. Because last week we did so well when we had nothing to talk about, and we're very proud of it.
This show's going to suck.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if there wasn't much to talk about on screen this week, there was definitely a hell of a lot to talk about behind the scenes.
Oh, definitely.
I know I saw your picture on the Marks of Commentary Facebook site, which was the evolution of the WWE WWF logo.
Yeah.
Going forward, is that our new logo?
I believe so. I think that's happening.
I mean, did you read this in the dirt sheets, or is this just kind of like a presumption?
No. That seems to be the common thought, is when the network launches, that becomes the logo. Because if you look at the new Jet has the network logo. And funny enough, Big E Langston posted a photo of his, or before it was launched, his T-shirt design. And you know how like they have the authentic WWE like T-shirt logo?
Yeah.
His version on his like Instagram or Twitter page has the network logo, but if you go on Shop Zone now, it's the regular logo. So I think it's coming. I think it's bound to be the logo eventually. And that's also how I think they're going to merge the two championships together, is a way to, move that out where, okay, here's your new belt, and it's the new logo belt. Give me the old 2-1. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I was even just thinking too, because I did read this earlier, that they don't even know if Orton, as of now, is going to walk out of the Elimination Chamber with the two belts.
Yeah.
Or the one belt as it was. I was thinking that too, because I was thinking, does this create an opportunity for them to remodel all the title belts? Like going forward now, 2014, this is the year of the network.
Mm-hmm.
Will all of the belts now reflect the new era? And I mean, you had your Attitude Era. You had the Ruthless Aggression era. Is this the network era? If people could go back 10 years from now, look at this. I really think that's what they'll call this. This is the network era. This is when WWE essentially took over the world. And I think everything at this point moving forward, because we're so close to the launch date. I mean, there was even talk that at the February 24th Monday Night Raw, that's where Undertaker's going to make his return. That's where Hulk Hogan's going to make his return. And they say, because they want to be a deterrent for the CM Punk chance, obviously, because it's in Chicago.
That's the following week.
Oh, is that the following week? Okay. Yeah. But is this sort of like the changing of the guard? Is this finally going to be the network era where all the belts, the old title belts or whatever, are they going to change up the look of every belt? Are they going to phase out all the old scratch logo stuff to reflect the network brand? Because essentially that's the market we're now in, is brand.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some, like the U.S. title belt, I think needs an update, because that's probably one of the oldest belts on TV, with the exception of like the World Heavyweight Championship.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Is it time to now phase out the WCW belts? Because the only two lasting WCW title belts now are the U.S. title and the World Heavyweight title.
Yeah.
Is it now time to recreate? I guess that's what I'm going for, is completely recreate not the industry, but the company itself, recreate through new belts, new logos. I mean, eventually, I'm assuming that Monday Night Raw is probably going to get a new logo, new song, and a new look following either the network launch or the pay-per-view, which is WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of think you need your lineage with, obviously, you're always going to have the WWE title, but, stuff like the Intercontinental and tag titles. U.S., I'm not sold on getting rid of it yet, because they just eliminated, the two big championships, and now you're left with single titles. The common thing I keep hearing is, oh, we need a cruiserweight title. Oh, we need a hardcore title. And, for much of my, being a fan lineage, I've always been like, yeah, we need to bring those back. But I think when you do that, you limit a star's potential. Is like, so when you look at, name me the greatest, the most successful cruiserweight champion ever. You know what I mean? Like, okay, it's Rey Mysterio.
I was
Who else
actually
you-
going to say, Rey Mysterio to hold that belt. He is the only superstar who's had that belt that has gone on to both win a Rumble match at number one and hold the World Heavyweight title. But that's like a rare, rare exception.
Yeah. I mean, then you got, guys like Eddie Guerrero and Jericho, and then it's a big drop off. But if you think of like over the course of time as like guys who have been classified as like high flyers, like, okay, you got Steamboat, you've got, Shawn Michaels, you've got Rob Van Dam. None of them were really cruiserweight champions. And I don't know. Like, I feel like you limit a guy when you pigeonhole him into that, category.
I will say though, if I had it my way, you would phase out. Essentially, you would have the WWE Heavyweight title, you would have the Intercontinental Heavyweight title, the Tag titles, the Divas title. If you were to take a fifth title, making sense, because I always like the idea of this title. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the way it sounds, because ECW had it, and I know for a while WCW, the television title.
Yeah.
Which I almost feel like, we've talked about this in the past with the internet title with Zack Ryder. Would it make sense in this, given the launch of the WWE Network and its prominence online, to have either an internet or like a TV title? Not so much to go back and bring back the hardcore, the European, but to actually take a title they've never had that other companies have and be like, this is our TV title.
I don't know, because like the idea of the TV title is that it was always defended on TV, and when that logic kind of was swept aside, at least by the major companies that held one, what was it? ECW had a TV title and they had no TV deal.
Well, we also know that the Bellas are like lobbying for a Diva Tag Team title, which I think would just be a waste.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
It's a wasted investment, and I mean that's one more Divas match that, and again, with all due respect to the female athletes in the WWE, and again, and Jason and I still joke about being in that TNA pay-per-view, getting our pizza when actually like a legitimate good Divas match took place at TNA. But I mean, I think that's the indoctrinated belief, is like, oh, it's the Divas, let's go to the bathroom, let's get up and let's, take a piss or get more nachos or get another drink. Like, I think all you're doing, and I mean, that's and I've said it before, that's such a godly looking title. If any title needs an upgrade, I think it's that one.
Oh yeah, it's too kiddish. I can understand trying to appeal to a kid's sensibilities, but I don't know, like, you need to classy it up more. It's too girly.
Now, in terms of the merchandising, because I know originally it seemed like they were holding out on the new WWE title for either The Rock going to pale it or because they had this deal with Mattel. I mean, is this the age of title belts that are more catering towards, the kids are going to see the title on TV and they're going to want to own it? Do we want to sort of, I don't know, adapt what we put on screen to what would sell at a Toys R Us? And that kind of worries me, because there's something cool about wearing a title belt around your waist, or just seeing it and seeing the replicas and owning a replica of just a title belt that looks like a title belt, not like a toy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think going forward with the company in terms of launching a network, I think it would be really cool to, update your logo, maybe update the sets a little bit, but also maybe just go back and kind of be like, all right, how do we want our company to be reflected in our champions?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think one title for an undisputed champion or world heavyweight champion is definitely top of the list.
Yeah, that's been the right move for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, well, too little, too late. I mean, I think as soon as the brand extension started, I hated it, but I feel like the brand extension's been a done deal for like 10 years. So
oh yeah, that's over now. So
it makes sense that they did it now. But well, in related Mark's Network news, I did see an interview with Stephanie where they did address the Over the Edge 1999 pay-per-view, and they did address Chris Benoit.
Mm-hmm. And
like we predicted, all the Owen stuff's going to be edited out, which I'm sure is to include all the backstage promo stuff with Road Dogg, with Jeff Jarrett and Deborah. Any mention of the accident there. But like Chris Benoit, I'm actually really surprised that they're going to keep him in.
I think getting rid of that is a lot harder, especially when he's so ingrained in the company for, I don't know, what did he have, like an 8-year run or something like that?
You're talking 99 to, what was it, 2007?
Okay, so, yeah, about a 7-8 year 8-year run. So
because then you have to completely ignore the latter half of the '90s with the Radicals, with Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and Eddie Guerrero. You have to completely negate his Royal Rumble victory, and there's just
the main event of WrestleMania 20, like,
well,
I mean,
obviously, yeah. If you're gonna go back and do this WrestleMania rewind thing, like, is that not a match you're gonna address and have commentary on?
I don't think they will. Like, I guess that was excluded from the Shawn Michaels DVD that just came out.
And that really sucks because we've said it time and time again. That was a solid match from beginning to end.
Definitely, and I think leaving it up on the network lets it speak for itself. But having Michaels continue to glorify it almost, I don't know, casts a weird shadow.
I mean, going forward to WrestleMania now, we have the largely discussed, the signing of Sting, which is still, they're saying WWE's kind of dragging their heels on this one because while Sting is in a place where he really wants The Undertaker for the streak match, and because it's the dream match, and because he is in such close proximity to where he lives to where The Undertaker trains for his one WrestleMania match, I mean, Sting seems really more than ever adamant that we should have this match now. Because we don't have it this year, we're never going to have it.
I don't know about that.
I
think it's definitely more logical that it happens next year. You can take a whole year, you can come out the Raw after WrestleMania. There's your awesome moment, just like how Brock was, just how you had that awesome crowd last year. That already builds that Raw after WrestleMania crowd up.
I know, I agree 100%, but you're thinking of as a fan and not as a WWE creative. We know that's the best, most logical way to go is tease Sting coming to the company the following night because, of course, the crowd after WrestleMania, as we saw last year as Fandango's theme, that's the crowd you should really cater to because there's going to be a lot of people that didn't get the tickets to WrestleMania in New Orleans. There's going to be a lot of people who might not have felt confident in the booking of WrestleMania to actually order the pay-per-view. All eyes are on Monday Night Raw the following.
I don't know. You kind of I regret not going last year because you get this hyper smart wrestling audience in that building because I think it was MetLife held, I don't know, say 50,000-60,000 or something like that. That number's probably horribly wrong, but then you condense that into hardcore fans because there is a huge English element, people from England, all these different countries that they love wrestling, they know everything about it. And you stick them in a building. Why are you going to go home when there's another show across the street, literally? And
no, I think that's good Mark logic, though, is for me, WrestleMania is their Super Bowl, but the Monday Night Raw following is Mark night. That's the night where all the people who kind of figured, you know what, I'm from a different country or I'm from a different state or whatever, we might as well make a whole long weekend out of the ordeal.
Definitely.
It makes perfect sense to get your tickets to both Mania and then the Monday Night Raw, but the fans are going to completely, regardless of where Mania ends up in terms of, was it a good Hall of Fame, which we'll talk about later, that I think that's a stacked Hall of Fame right now. Yeah. How good was Mania itself? And then, what can we do to kind of voice our opinion during a live broadcast on USA? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the Raw Following Mania should be about. And not to jump ahead here, but Lita, Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
I did not see that coming. I didn't. As soon as Trish got in, I was like, all right, Lita's going to be the following year. Mm-hmm. But given the talk of Cyndi Lauper, Andy Kaufman, Paul Bearer, etc., I completely forgot that, they're probably going to want another diva.
Yeah.
And I love the tweets that Jake the Snake and Ultimate Warrior posted. I love that Jake the Snake was like, well, here I was thinking I was going to be the prettiest one going into the Hall of Fame, but clearly no.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously teased too. It's a fairly obvious who's going to induct me. It's going to be DDP.
Yeah, it has to be.
I mean, that still leaves the question, if Lita goes in, who's going to induct her? It's probably going to be Trish Stratus.
That seems to be the logical choice. I see a lot of people, and I even have the thought of AJ Lee because they met, but then I'm like, why? Because they met once and AJ Lee marked out? That I don't think that's enough.
The common bond of CM Punk.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I was thinking too was everybody thought Lita was going to induct Trish, and then Trish asked Steph to induct her. Mm-hmm. They could throw the curveball and have the Hardys induct Lita.
I doubt that'll happen.
Well, because their TNA test, probably not. Yeah. But
I'm pulling for S.A. Rios.
What's more logical than the Hardy Boys? Essay Rios.
Just imagine that speech.
Whoever created the trend of the G string above the pants, that's who's going to induct Lita.
I think she is. She did it. She's the trailblazer.
And that trend actually caught on. Yes, you're welcome, ladies of the later '90s, 2000s. It was Lita who was the innovator behind that trend. No, I think right now, if your big three are Lita, Jake the Snake, Ultimate Warrior, you're not going to get. And of course, Warrior gave his blessing on Twitter, which Warrior has been classing it up lately. I mean,
Yeah.
I was thinking about this at work the other day. All I kept thinking was like, the new DVD, are they even going to mention the self-destruction DVD, or is he just going to be like, you know what? They put me in the Hall of Fame. They give me a DVD. Bygones be bygones. Like, whatever.
I don't know. I would think they would. Just,
For the sake of business. Well, if Hulk Hogan just signed and he's supposed to, like, he has an imminent return, anything can happen. And it's a cliche phrase they use in wrestling, but truly anything can happen in this business. I mean, I have lived through so many superstars coming and going that you're almost just like, at the end of the day, WWE is a monopoly. They do control the stake in a lot of careers. And honestly, I love the fact that when they mentioned, how Hulk came back, essentially Triple H bumped into him and said, dude, just come home. Like, you belong with us. You don't belong at that second-rate show. Just come home. We'll find something for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, money talks. I think there's a lot of paper on the line for Hulk to come back just to be Hulk Hogan. I mean, do I love it? I haven't been really, in love with Hulk Hogan over the past, decade or so. But he's still very much, when you think WWE or WWF, you think Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and it's going to be a different relationship this time because in the past, WWE has needed Hulk Hogan. This time, Hulk Hogan kind of needs that paycheck from WWE, so...
And I honestly, I cannot, and people can't really decipher between Mr. McMahon, the character, and Vince McMahon, the businessman. For what it's worth, the guy's a genius. Like, and the fact that he's had so many relationships with people like Warrior or Bret Hart or Hulk, and it's still like, dude, the door's open. When you're ready to bury the hatchet, the door's always open. I mean, that's a huge thing, especially when it comes down to dollars and cents. Like, yeah, it puts money in Vince's pocket, but it still puts food on their plates. I mean, for what it's worth, like, we know who Ultimate Warrior and Jake the Snake are. Mm-hmm. We always have. We've been fans. But at the end of the day, it's Vince McMahon who decides, I can make you relevant again.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of thing I was thinking about the reception towards Lita is, like, I marked out. But how many people in the audience even know who the fuck Lita was?
I don't know. That's hard to say because I don't know what the audience is made up of anymore.
Is that exciting to you as a fan? Or is that, like, a little, like, I don't know, how do you make heads or tails of that? Like, what makes up the common wrestling fan now in terms of, being groomed in terms of, like, the history, the annals of wrestling history? Like, does everybody know Bruno Sammartino? Does it, you know what I mean?
No, I think the way, at least how I can perceive it is, your generation, and you probably know the last generation's relevance. So, okay, I grew up kind of on Steve Austin end of things. I definitely had an idea of, the Bret Hart era and then a little bit into the Hogan era. So I imagine the kids today kind of know a little bit about the Steve Austin era, and that's kind of where it ends. But maybe, it's up to WWE to educate their fans, so.
Right. Well, in terms of the actual discussion for WrestleMania, I started with, Sting and Undertaker seeming unlikely, but, does Brock and Undertaker seem even more unlikely? Now there's talk of Roman Reigns getting the push and replacing Punk in the Triple H match. There was talk of a triple threat with the Shield, but now there's even more talk of, is it going to be Bryan and Triple H or Bryan against Orton and Batista at WrestleMania?
I think it needs to be Bryan, Batista, and Orton in the main event.
I think it does just because he's still so over with the crowds. I mean, that was evident on the Slammy edition of Raw.
Mm-hmm.
He has nothing to do with the title picture now, and everybody's still chanting his name, or everybody's still chanting yes. I think it really needs to reach a fever pitch now where either Bryan finally gets the title and it's not, sullied by some stupid twist in the storyline, or just have him in the match just to dignify the fans that have held out for this long.
Yeah, but I also worry if they do that, will they just put him in the match and end up giving it to Batista? Because I feel like that crowd will fucking destroy that arena.
You know what, though? If that's what happens, I think that's what the outcome should be. I think, again, if you're catering to the fans, you're saying $9.99 a month, this is our network, this is for the fans, by the fans, whatever, that should really be reflected in your product. That should be reflected in your pay-per-views and your weekly television broadcast. I think, and they always say, like, never listen to the marks, never listen to the fans. They'll hijack the show and, they'll ruin it. But I think in this case, it's, who created the Steve Austins and the Rocks? The fans. Mm-hmm. You told us who to cheer for and who to boo, and we told you go fuck yourself. Like, this Austin guy's really awesome. I'm going to cheer for him when you want me to boo him. And that was a merchandising juggernaut for WWF through the later half of the 90s and well into the better half of the 2000s. And again, I'm sure, I don't think Austin has the sort of, I don't know how you'd put it, but he doesn't mystify the crowds as much as he used to.
No.
But if he were to put on the black trunks and the leg braces and the glass shatter and he came out, I would have said this more so when Punk was around, but if he came out for one more match, you know that he would still make money.
Yeah, I think now it's just a thing of, we know we're probably never going to see Austin in a ring again, and it's just, it's this guy that, can't even flip the middle finger, but he'll, drink some fake beer on TV, and that's kind of the highlight, and then stun somebody. I love Austin, but now it's just kind of like, they're wheeling him back out there again. It's the Bret Hart position where just go out there, do your catchphrases, do your poses, and, we'll get out of this.
Well, right. I think Austin knows that, which is why he hasn't, entertained the idea of returning, because he knows that it would simply be for the gimmick. It would be for the marquee, the name, Stone Cold Steve Austin on Raw or at WrestleMania. And it's him on the ATV, or it's him drinking beer or fake beer, and it's still not him in like a WrestleMania classic match.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, with Punk's future sort of in limbo, I mean, what have we learned? Nothing. It's been total radio silence on Punk's end.
Yeah.
Which,
that's
to me,
weird.
It's weird because I'm still on the fence. Like, CM Punk's a pretty outspoken guy. I mean, the fact that he hasn't written anything on Twitter or done anything remotely just keeping himself relevant to just for... I mean, the guy could have made a good substantial nut in terms of, like, the amount of money he's amassed.
Mm-hmm.
But why would you not kind of self-promote? Because, anytime someone leaves the company, it's like, you go on WrestleZone, it's like, they're now booking for indie dates and whatever. Either CM Punk's a very wealthy guy who would know how to stretch that wealth, or there's something else going on.
Maybe, but he also, if you watch that interview he did the night before the Royal Rumble, he was just like, when I'm done, I'm going to go find a cabin, and you'll never hear from me again. Almost like a Johnny Carson, just kind of disappears.
I mean, but that's still, credit to him. If that's all he does, we're still going to be talking. And they say, like, the fans' reaction to CM Punk's, exit's going to taper eventually. Really, though, it becomes wrestling lore. Like, he's the Dave Chappelle of wrestlers. He got on a plane and went to Africa. Do we know why? No idea. Maybe he'll do a tell-all interview, kind of like Inside the Actors Studio, where he'll just drop dimes and be like, well, this is what happened. I wouldn't count on it, but being Punk, I think that there's something bigger on the horizon. Either he's going to show up somewhere and completely sell out the company, or he's still on the company payroll, and they're just being really, really guarded in how he's getting his paychecks. And they had said, like, Triple H had lost faith in him, like, don't forget it. And I'm reading, like, Vince McMahon genuinely likes Punk as a person. And that's very rare to read, I feel like, in dirt sheets, where, I mean, who was the last guy that we knew that Vince McMahon liked genuinely as a person? I didn't know Vince McMahon liked any of his wrestlers as people until he inducted Austin.
Yeah.
And he had talked about Austin's involvement in merchandising and stuff like that, and creating his own T-shirts. And he joked, I love him, but he hates me. Like, I think that's a huge kind of silver lining. Either Vince is going to endorse this guy as a person for the open door for the company, or that he just knows whatever Phil wants to do, Phil's going to do, and we're behind it 110%. good, bad, and different, it doesn't really hurt us because he was still a WWE guy. So I mean, in terms of other WrestleMania dream matches, you would put here, it looks like Goldust has kind of lost faith that him and Cody are going to get their marquee match.
I don't think it's lost face so much. I think it's more, it's just he feels the time has passed for that to be something relevant, and he's more focused. Maybe he thinks he can get a longer run if he sticks with the Cody tag team.
But again, I feel like tag teams are so fleeting. I mean, unless you're like the Legion of Doom or, the New Age Outlaws, I feel like if you're a pairing like that, it's just a matter of time before you're split, and then it's just like one guy gets bigger than the other, and it's just like, what's Marty Jannetty doing these days? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Shawn Michaels was clearly the breakout star of that tag team. It's just, I don't know. I'm kind of worried for Goldust because I think in terms of evolving as an athlete, and I've said this multiple times, I think Goldust is at his prime now, but it does concern me, like, where does his future lie going forward?
Beats me. I mean, I know he only signed the short-term contract, so there's not much time left, but, that can easily be sorted out, sign an extension, but
Prior to this, he was let go as an agent. I mean, they did give him that position as an agent.
Yeah. Well, that was due to what was it? Primetime player mistake or something like that.
Yeah, there was an NXT or kind of like a dark match mistake. He took the fall and he was let go.
Yeah.
But again, I still think it's funny that Goldust, after all these years, he's in the company, he's let go. He's in the company, he's let go. Like, I still feel like that guy's just not going anywhere.
No, he won't. He'll always be around the industry, and especially WWE. But
yeah,
it goes back to the Mark logic of, well, maybe everything's a work. Maybe he's working us. I don't know.
I mean, we discussed Lita going to the Hall of Fame, but the Hall of Fame to air live. Are you referring to the WWE Network or?
Yeah, I am. It is going to be live on the WWE Network.
It would be stupid for it not to.
Yeah.
I mean,
it definitely needs to be, and I'm happy that they did that.
Well,
because watching it after WrestleMania, the Monday night, or I think it ends up being on Tuesday, it's like you're exhausted from the week that was. Like, WrestleMania ends at after the main event. Like, to go back and watch something else that had to happen before is kind of, I don't know, counterintuitive in my mind.
They had I think it was the one year when the $1 Million Man was inducted, and it was the Saturday before WrestleMania.
That's right.
And I mean, it was funny because it's like you're airing this live, but that was such a lackluster Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I feel like it is smart on their end. It's again another ploy to get the network, because who wouldn't want to see the Ultimate Warrior going live when it's completely unedited, and this guy's going to say probably God knows what.
Mm-hmm.
But God knows who, with everybody sitting in attendance. And same with Jake the Snake. I feel like, I don't think Jake the Snake's going to be as much of a wild card as Warrior will be, but I definitely think Jake the Snake's acceptance speech is going to be something worth, investing the $20-$30 they ask when it comes out on DVD. Like, you're going to want to relive that time and time again.
Definitely.
Because it's going to be, there's that WrestleMania moment before, the pyro goes off for the actual event.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really special. And again, Warrior is a wild card. But again, we don't know. There's been talk that possibly, and I think it'd be great if Cyndi Lauper got in this year.
Yeah, there's also talk of Mr. T as well.
I mean, I want Kaufman to go in, but my second Kaufman's definitely Lauper.
Yeah, maybe as opposed to doing the match idea, you induct the rocking wrestling era.
Oh, I'm definitely behind that, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you can shed light on it, and then you don't have to do the match thing. Hogan can induct Mr. T, and maybe Piper inducts Cyndi Lauper. Who knows?
That's a good one. I would love to see Piper induct Lauper. Because they did have their moment last year, and it was, again, I mean, I'm a fan outside of wrestling. I was a big fan of Cyndi Lauper's music, so just, again, connecting the two of just my passion for music and wrestling, I think it would be a cool moment for anyone that either grew up in that era or grew up a little bit after that era but still appreciates that era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who the hell knows that half the fans in that audience are even going to know who the hell Cyndi Lauper is?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully to Cyndi Lauper, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I work at a thrift store, and we got Cyndi Lauper all over our store iPod, and you got, you know, 19, 20-year-olds coming in and just kind of laughing at it, being like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
You know?
She wasn't Madonna, but she was a name.
She was a name and she was a character. More above none, she was a character.
Yeah.
And I think that's why WWF at the time had made that deal with her, because it's just like she was a character in pop culture. You know, how could that not translate into wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that would be a cool one. But and you have made a little note here. Why does WWE.com know how to book Mania better than Creative does? Elaborate, sir.
I imagine you have not seen yet. The WWE.com had posted like 8 WrestleMania 30 dream matches, and they all sound better than what potentially is going to be put on pay-per-view.
I didn't actually see this. I was on WWE.com earlier, but I care to elaborate on, like...
Yeah, I'll go through each of them. Roman Reigns versus Big E for the IC title.
Not a terrible one. That one has potential, I think.
Okay, I like it. I like the idea of it. You know, you get Reigns over if you give him the title. Let's see. And then they get better. They get a lot better. And there's one I know you're going to fucking mark out for, and this isn't even it. Jake the Snake Roberts versus Dean Ambrose.
I like that one a lot, actually. I think that they, in terms of their characters and their mannerisms, they have a lot in common.
Oh, yeah. Just the promos alone would be amazing. All right, let me jump to the next one. 10-man Money in the Bank ladder match. Let's see. Big Show, Swagger, Wyatt, Cesaro, Ziggler, Henry, Rollins, Antonio, what's his name? Sandow, Miz, and Kofi. Not terrible.
Not terrible, because you do have your fair share of high flyers in there.
Big guys.
That would definitely be fun for the simple fact that out of all those names, who the hell would be a potential WWE Championship contender?
I don't know. It would probably wind up being Wyatt. Probably. In my mind. And I think that'd be awesome. Let's see. Battle of the Divas. You have AJ Lee versus Stephanie.
I think that would have been cool if they had... I always wondered why they didn't do more with like an AJ Steph storyline.
Yeah.
Especially when Vince, during the Daniel Bryan AJ Lee wedding, the fact that Steph didn't even have like a part in that.
Yeah. And I don't know, you'd need somebody to be a face, and they're both awesome heels, so it's tough.
Sometimes the best matches are between two people that are awesome heels.
Yeah.
Because then the fans have to decide, who do we want to cheer for right now?
That's true. And now we have one of the Mania matches I had predicted that doesn't seem like it's going to come true. You have Batista versus Brock in a last man standing match.
As long as Batista's feet don't get duct taped to the ring post, we're good.
The Ultimate Showdown. You have Undertaker versus John Cena.
And, you know, I read an article recently. I forget where I read it. Maybe a Bleacher Report or something. And I was shaking my head reading it, just being like, yep, why is that not happening? Why was that not booked a year ago?
It's probably going to be lined up to be his last WrestleMania, in my mind. He'll get to 35 wins, or on the cusp of, was it 25 wins.
Yeah, but everything, it's all a matter of timing. And I mean, just through the perspective of, like, how much money can we make while it's still relevant? How much longer is John Cena? I mean, it's a tough question, because John Cena's not even really... He was, because I can't say that because he did just hold the World Heavyweight title, but it seems like going forward, we can't really picture Cena holding a title. You know, and that begs the question, does Cena need a title to make Cena Cena? I mean, I'm just wondering how much longer can they kind of milk, you know, this whole Cena phenomenon.
I don't know. Like, that's tricky. Maybe at some point Cena morphs into becoming the Undertaker-esque kind of position. Not so much the character, but just that role of that.
The locker room guy.
Yeah, the constant guy.
I mean, there's that, because, I mean, love or hate John Cena, he does have that sort of diligent work ethic behind the scenes where it's like this guy just never takes a day off unless physically his elbow is sticking out of his arm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do wonder about that because it is a match I would love to see.
Yeah.
But at this point, when we get it, it's no different than Brock and Taker or, you know, Taker and Sting. Like, it's a match I definitely want to see.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, how long are they going to kind of, you know, drag it out for until we get it?
I think it'll be 25 and done, or however that works out. I don't think he makes it past 25.
Yeah.
All right, this is the one I knew you are going to mark out for. It's called the TV-14 Put the Kids to Bed Battle Royal. It is the tagline is too much attitude to handle.
I love that as like a pay-per-view slogan.
And it's basically every attitude wrestler. I'm looking at a poster of, you got Bob Holly, you got the Mean Street Posse, you got Kurgan, Val Venus, Steve Blackman, Viscera, the Headbangers, Godfather, Blue Meanie, Gangrel, Taka Michinoku.
Not that interview with us, by the way.
Yeah, it's coming soon, I'm sure. Taka Michinoku and Funaki.
Wow.
That would be amazing.
It's too much. That's too much jobbing to handle, I would think, more specifically. But I mean, I think that's how you know you're getting old, though, is when you realize that we're not far off from what they'll consider like an old school battle royal, and it's gonna be guys that we were just watching 10 years ago, and we're just gonna look at ourselves like, are we that old?
I did post this on Twitter earlier, and somebody pointed out it's basically the hardcore battle royal lineup.
Essentially, I mean, it's the 24/7. Like, yeah,
Yep.
like they had the match of Mania, and it was timed, and like, you know, every person, it was like, oh, he won the belt. Now he has like 10 minutes to defend it.
All right, there's one more. What the hell was it? For the WWE title, This Is War, 3 men, 1 title, Orton, Bryan, Triple H.
Essentially, that's going to be their main event, though, as far as I know. And it's not, but it's, you know, replace Triple H with, you know,
Batista,
yeah.
another muscle bound guy.
It's always going to be like a big guy versus a moderately big guy versus like the little guy.
Yeah. Well, that's the WWE.com Dream WrestleMania 30 card.
I mean, some of these are plausible, though. That's the funny thing is, again, as you said, WWE.com has a better handle on this than Creative does. Is like, that's a very, I mean, some of those matches, if not all those matches, are entirely possible to have right now.
Yeah.
Entirely possible. It's definitely not out of the stretch of imagination to say, like, we could book that match. Like, Jake Snake versus Ambrose, probably not likely, but it's still, you know what I mean? Like, it's not far off. Like, you could probably squeeze 5 minutes out of Jake the Snake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am a little let down by the fact that, you know, Money in the Bank is still a pay-per-view and not a match at WrestleMania.
Yeah. That sucks. Like, because that made WrestleMania for those couple years. Like, that was the thing to tune in and look forward to. And then you'd wonder the whole show, is somebody going to crash the main event?
Well, I mean, that's the problem, too, is because it's been the July pay-per-view. I mean, it's, you know, originally Daniel Bryan was supposed to cash in at WrestleMania, and of course he didn't. He cashed in on Big Show and won the World Heavyweight title. It really made me mad that, like, it never happened. Of course, Dolph did cash in last year. After Mania, but it was still kind of like, I agree with you. It would have been so much cooler if somebody had won it and did it at the main event of Mania and won at Mania.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm still looking at the Undertaker John Cena one and thinking, like, why is this not happening right now?
I think that's the one to close out the Undertaker streak, whether Cena wins or loses.
Yeah. It's definitely, and of course, I do, now I'm looking at the picture now on WWE, I do love the TV-14 Battle Royal. I really do. And essentially it is, as someone you said on Twitter, it's essentially the hardcore title Battle Royal.
Which I'm okay with seeing again.
I would, you know what, because we've been, you know, there came a point where it became so just I don't know, just diluted at the time. When we watched wrestling, when it was like WrestleMania had one, then Backlash had one, then Judgment Day had one, because it's been so long since we've seen like a legitimate hardcore title match, it would be kind of cool to see something like that again.
Yeah. I mean, you could, make Wheel McFoley out there in the striped shirt and make him the referee, and maybe you don't have maybe you have a hardcore trophy or something like that. I don't know.
You could always bring the belt back. You could redesign it, whatever, and just have an Attitude Era. I mean, that's even how you could bring back. You can have all these Attitude Era guys come back, but if you had one out of the litter that you were like, I still got to get another year or two in him, that's how you could bring him back into the company.
Yeah.
Nah,
I mean, even if it's just for one night, like we're reactivating the hardcore title for one night.
Right.
And then you could do skits throughout the show. Somebody's, winning the hardcore title throughout the show. I don't know. That's too much time devoted to the hardcore title.
I mean, but again, that's what we grew up with. I mean, remember King of the Ring?
Which
King
one?
of the Ring, Crash Holly had
yeah.
the King of the Ring qualifying match. Pat Patterson and Joe Briscoe had their hardcore match, and then here comes Crash Holly to win the title again. And like, that guy was getting pops all night in Boston at the King of the Ring. And as when he lost his qualifying match, it was like, oh, well, that's it for Crash Holly. And then bam, his music hit. He was back out, won his title back, and ran off. And it was like that. That was a cool moment because it was just like, okay, we haven't seen the last of him. I don't know though. There's definitely it definitely piques my interest in wondering like why would they post this now when it's like again there was so much potential for them to do some of these matches.
Mm-hmm.
But you had mentioned bloggers. I was kind of confused about this one.
No, I just wanted to give a shout out. Everybody head over to our blog that we have. We got a lot of great guys over there and girls writing some awesome shit. So I just want to give a shout. You can find it. You can go to marksoncommentary.com. If you go down to the bottom, it's right. The link is right there. Take you there. Me and Eddie, I'm not a blogger. Eddie likes to write, but he's not a wrestling blogger either. And it was just kind of sitting there. And now, these guys every week, there's something cool going up,
I love how we have people doing work for us. Hey, good on them, man. If they're writing, I mean, I've been on the sites in a while because my thing with the internet is just like I use it for the occasional Facebook, and then I'm kind of off of it for the rest of the time unless I'm doing the show or talking to Jason in the meantime. If anyone wants to pick up the ball where we drop it, all the power to them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's there for.
And I don't absorb the credit. Oh, I told them to write. No. If somebody wrote something, that's their own idea. I pretty much give somebody free reign to write whatever they want. They're 100% behind it, so I'm not trying to steal the credit.
Now, I do want to mention, although I don't know if it's the right time to mention, the T-shirts we've been discussing lately.
Yeah, you can talk about it.
I mean, I don't know much about it. Jason's the one making the deals here, but apparently Jason made a deal with a T-shirt printing company to get Marks on Commentary shirts, which I'll be honest, Jason and I have been, when we did this on February 27th, I believe it's been a year since we've been doing this.
Yeah.
And before we even shot behind the camera to do the initial show on YouTube, Jason already had fucking T-shirt ideas. And they all looked awesome. Like, I would buy every one of them just because I just thought they looked cool because, I had said, there were so many shirts from the Attitude Era that I loved that I never got to own because I got into wrestling pretty late in the 90s. Like, yeah, I got in around 99, but I didn't get in until about April after WrestleMania 15.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that stuff was really rare to find and really hard to find. And, there were a lot of great shirts. And, of course, Jason's kind of...
some parody ones. I think we'll leave the designs as a question because I want them to be a surprise to people, but I don't mind talking about their coming.
Well, yeah, you'll get the gag when you see it. Like, when you see the shirt, you're going to be like, oh, that's awesome. Or you'll be like, the hell is that? I don't get it.
There's 4 designs that I submitted. If people want to tweet 1 Hour Tees and Pro Wrestling, the site's prowrestlingtees.com. They do an awesome thing with they handle all your shit. They'll send it to you. I just have to submit designs. It's really cool. But yeah, if you want to tweet them, it takes them, I guess, about 2 weeks to process everything, and I just submitted everything last Friday, so possibly by the time you hear this next week, they should be up.
No, I'm already planning on buying 3 of them. And that's pathetic because I'm a co-host, but I think how the arrangement works essentially is that we basically have to sell some shirts in order for, to keep the deal with them.
Exactly. We have to sell 25 shirts within 90 days. So we'll be digging into people, rallying the troops. If you like our show, we're not asking you to submit money to us. We're asking you to submit money so we can continue to market our show. And you get something out of it. They're cool shirts. I looked at some of the other shirts that are up on this site, not to knock on anybody's, but I think ours are pretty cool comparatively.
Well, because essentially you stole a really good idea and you just made it ours.
There's some original ones.
Well, regardless, I was showing Nina some of the shirts, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool." I don't get it. I'm like, "But you don't have to get it. It looks cool, doesn't it?" Like that's
the point. Does it look cool just as a shirt?
Right. So I mean, we've got that in the works, and I'm sure by WrestleMania, Jason will have some other ideas coming out. But that's definitely a big one that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I want a shirt.
Well, you're gonna have to buy it, sir.
I know I'm gonna have to buy it. Well, that helps. That helps our numbers. So
yeah, we're helping our own numbers essentially.
All hands on deck. If you like our show, just consider go buying a T-shirt or two.
Now you're gonna be tweeting that when it comes.
Oh yeah, as soon as I have confirmation and see it up on the site, it's going out to everybody. I'll show pictures, everything, but I'll leave it as a mystery right now.
I'm very bad at surprises. This is why I'm glad I don't use Twitter as much at MO commentary, because I'd be the first one to be like, "This shirt is so cool. Look at it."
Speaking of Twitter, we just passed 8,500 followers. As I said before, if we hit 100,000 before WrestleMania, I want to do a giveaway, if not 3 of them.
I think we can do that. Hopefully it goes over better than the make a sign, mystery box, all the ideas that never came to fruition because nobody gave a shit.
Exactly. Maybe we'll make a box and put, round out all the promotions that we haven't done.
And you can win a match with my nephew Sonny, who stole both my cane mask and my plastic WWE title belt.
Nice.
A little bastard.
But yeah, I want to break 100,000, 10,000. Excuse me. Yeah, I want to break 100,000.
100,000. Now, we'll have more followers than Katy Perry. Do we actually have Twitter questions this week, or?
Let me hop over. I put it out just before we started.
We ask you people to contribute, and you do nothing. You do nothing. No, I just feel like a glorified car salesman. Buy our shirts. Listen to our show.
Oh, Conan responded to me. Awesome.
He's very subdued in that.
No, really. I like the cool thing about having our Twitter is not to brag. It's we ask cool questions to people in the industry, and they're fortunate enough to respond to us. So Eddie knows nothing about it. It's okay.
And again, I try to stay away because the last couple times I've been on Twitter, I got us booted off Twitter. I had people accusing us being homophobes. It's just better if I stay away.
No, we're live tweeting WrestleMania. That's happening. If not, that whole weekend.
Well, I don't care who I offend that weekend.
No, I don't care. My goal is to get on WWE.com again and the Twitter mentions that the pay-per-views have or whatever.
I think it'd be cool if we just got our picture on there, our logo picture.
That ain't it.
You don't know anybody who works at WWE? You can't pull some strings, Jason? Come on.
I know no one. Let me ask Catherine.
Clearly we're nobody. Ask Catherine. Clearly we're nobodies.
Let's see. Zombie Leader 1 has a question. I don't know if you're going to be able to chime in on this. How would the wrestling landscape change if Fritz Von Erich didn't run WCCW into the ground?
I'm just sitting here with a look on my face. You ever see those Keanu Reeves memes where it's just whoa?
I don't know. That's hard to say. It's so difficult.
That's a smart mark question. That's all you, Jason.
I know. I'm trying to think. Because my wrestling knowledge follows up what you can sum up in an hour documentary. And I've watched the WCCW documentary, and it just seems like they're very regionalized and we're content to stay in Texas area. So I don't know. I would imagine had he not run it into the ground, he would have had to sell it at some point.
I think that's true for most of those companies, though.
Yeah. I
feel like a lot of them stem from somebody that had a trust fund or a little bit of money. Mm-hmm. I think for the most part, I think it was you had you know, all right, you had, Paulie, who he had ECW, and he didn't have money, but he had the brilliance to run a company like that.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the backing. And then you have the other ones that have the money but have no, like Dixie Carter. She's got money, but she has no business being in the wrestling industry.
Which supposedly there's rumors that Vince Russo is coming back to write for them a third time.
Oh, because it worked, the first two times.
Huh?
Oh, because it worked so well the first two times.
Exactly. Which is a fucking terrible idea. But I do hear that MVP and Samoa Joe are taking more of a leadership role in the locker room because all these legends are gone, which I'm kind of excited to see how that pans out. Let's give it a year and see how that works now.
Yeah, I definitely would knock on it. I mean, those are guys that had great potential. I mean, Samoa Joe, I still wish Samoa Joe had made the transition to WWE, but I don't think it's ever going to happen now. But
he said this is his year or he's kind of done with the company.
Yeah.
So, anything else on Twitter? No real other Twitter questions tonight, but I did it late, so.
It's radio silence. Well, 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary on Twitter. Again, I'm curious to see going forward here with WrestleMania, just, predictions, dream matches, what have you. And of course, you buy our t-shirts because you'll make Jason very happy. I just think it'd be funny as hell to just, see somebody wearing that logo on them and just be like, oh man. Like even if it's even if it's the person I gave a DVD out of my closet to who's wearing it, I swear to God, they're cool. They're gonna be cool shirts.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I feel like the people that we have working on our blog, we're starting to slowly make a community, and that's awesome. Like that's what we want. We just want, you can be a John Cena fan. That doesn't matter, but be intelligent and let's talk, and let's not just say that you love Batista because you have a special connection with him.
Jason holds on to grudges.
I do. By the way, fuck fan podcast.
Oh man, if we do like a 1-year anniversary show, that's what Jason's still going to be talking about.
It'll happen. I should make a montage of every time I say that.
I'm surprised we didn't get a fuckfanpodcast.com shirt.
I could only submit 4 t-shirts.
Oh,
that was number 5.
I'm glad none of them were that one.
Someday.
Well, I think Jason's got knowing Jason, Jason's got some big plans for WrestleMania in mind. So going forward, again, Elimination Chambers in a few weeks. Again, I'm curious about the main event match to see who walks out. In terms of the rest of the card, Del Rio, Batista. Yeah, I will say I'm pretty excited about the Shield versus the Wyatt family.
Yeah.
I think that one would be. And I did mark out when the Shield was in the ring and they had that like tense moment when they were on the ring apron together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. I'm definitely sold on that match.
I'm glad this is happening before the Shield disbands.
Oh, yeah, I think they need to have one really good match before it's over, and then after that, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I hope it is a match. There's no like fuck finish or anything like that. Let's just have the match that a WrestleMania caliber match on this pay-per-view.
Well, I mean, in terms of the show, though, I think we covered all our bases, so I think I'm going to wrap it up here.
Didn't we want to mention it because today is Valentine's Day, or at least supposedly when people are listening to this.
Jason and I were toying with this because it is Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we do have that. The best worst WWE pay-per-view was St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Out of all the matches that really stood out to me, of course, Al Snow, Hardcore Holly, or Bob Holly at the time.
Yep.
And McMahon, Austin, and Steel Cage, and the classic Steel Cage, mind you.
Gold Dust, Blue Dust doesn't do anything for you?
Oh my God, I went back and watched that whole pay-per-view again, like a few months ago, and just sat there being like, I spent $40 on this VHS tape. Oh my God, Midian and Big Boss, man, what the hell was I thinking? But more importantly, Jason had entertained the idea. I was thinking Great Lothario is wrestling, sexual talk about Venus, but Jason wanted to round out his best couples inside and outside the ring of WWE.
I don't have anything pre-planned or anything.
Well, I'm saying, if I had to, obviously there was China Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
There was AJ, Daniel Bryan. For what it's worth, I thought they had a good chemistry. We could go, Scott Steiner and test with Stacey Keibler if we really wanted to. I mean, Lita and the Hardys.
Yeah, Macho and Elizabeth.
Oh, of course. I think that would be like number one.
Yeah.
With a bullet.
Vince and Linda, maybe?
Vince, I think that worked better as a contentious relationship where she was always somehow trying to screw her own husband over. I love Linda. Like, I loved her as a character. Just every time her music hit, which was like that classic WrestleMania 14 music,
Yeah.
you just knew shit was going down. And it was so awesome because no matter what Vince tried to do, she always fucked him over. I thought that was so. I mean, obviously, you have the McMahon Helmsley era, which being a fan in seventh grade, a 14-year-old kid at the time, I hated. Because again, wrestling was still real to me, damn it. I hated it. When they fired Mankind, not once but twice, I hated it. The pink slip on a pole match. Oh, God, I still have nightmares about that.
Who else? Don't forget Meat and Terry Reynolds.
Meat and Terry Reynolds. Goldust Terry Reynolds. You have our number one fan. Our number one fan who would never get back to us. You have Gangrel and
Luna.
Yep.
That's one. Let's see.
Taka and
what?
I was thinking Kai and Tai.
Kai and Tai? Who did Kai and Tai have?
They had each other, Jason.
Oh, they had each other.
You had TNA with Trish Stratus. You had Tori and X-Pac, and then Tori and Kane.
You had let's see, Shane Douglas and Francine.
Yeah.
So, mentioning that, you'll have to do Dawn Marie and Lance Storm.
Deborah and Austin.
Although that ended in a horrible helicopter fight.
Oh my God. I still remember being
helicopter footage. Fight,
I remember the only time I've ever seen wrestling aside from the Chris Benoit and wrestling in tabloids was Austin beats Deborah. I remember literally standing in the grocery store line seeing the headline and being like, "Oh man,
is this a work?"
Yeah, like, did the Sun get this? Is WWF feeding this to them? Is this a work? Is this going to culminate in a Deborah versus Austin match? Maybe they'll have it at SummerSlam.
Well, who are some of your more, like you mentioned, lethargic kind of?
Oh, like Lotharios?
Yeah.
I still think Mark Henry. I mean,
Sexual chocolate.
Young. I'm sorry, the hand. To this day, I still want him before he retires to come back to Sexual Chocolate. There's something about that character or just that whole gimmick that it was so absurd, but it was so goddamn awesome. I mean, Val Venus is, you take it or leave it, but just Sexual Chocolate was so dead on. I mean, I think Sexual Chocolate's gimmick was just as good as Goldust because it was so stupid and over the top that you had to love it.
Yeah. Let's see, you got Viscera, the world's largest love machine.
Oh my God. Big Daddy V. Oh, what was it? When he was like that character? Was it Big Daddy V? Was he Big Daddy V at that point?
No, he was still Viscera. But they tagged him like Mark Henry is the world's strongest man. He's the world's largest love machine or something.
He'll always be Mabel to me, damn it.
King Mabel.
Oh my God. I think that's a good point, Ed. 978-276-9418. Greatest wrestling crushes, if you will. I mean, mine was, and to the end was Trish Stratus when she came in, man. Oh man. I guess who's bigger in terms of like if you were in the 90s and you had a crush on any diva, it had to be Lita or Trish Stratus. I don't think there was really I don't think there were any Luna guys out there.
Not so much Cat fans. I mean, other than her getting naked.
I think that was more or less like what the fuck. Well, you could always say that about Mae Young too at the Rumble. Oh my God, it was like the worst scene, and there's something about Mary. There are certain things in this life that can't be unseen.
Ivory looked good. Former Tina Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean,
if anybody knows who that is.
Ivory.
I wanted to throw that out there because I watched the Glow documentary.
Jason doesn't admit, but he had such a man crush on Nicole Bass.
Oh, totally. China? No, wouldn't do it. Nicole Bass, definitely.
Oh my God, I remember seeing her spread Playboy and just thinking, why? You might as well have gotten Nicole Bass at that point. 978-276-188. Next episode, My Nightmares of Nicole Bass.
I have to go look at Sable's Playboy now to drain my mind of that image.
He's got to drain a few other things.
Fuck you.
We are Marks on Commentary. I'm Eddie Roby.
I'm Jason Smith.
Draining the bass.
Never hangs around.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Hey, wrestling fans and freaks alike. I am the Information Highway's last living outlaw. My name is the Masked Tweeter. I hail from parts unknown. I am here today to deliver to you breaking news that's going to put you in a headlock. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Stop the presses. Get the president on the horn. This is a big one, folks. I am joining forces with Andy's Army.
Andy's Army.
To get Andy Kaufman the 2014 WWE Hall of Fame Induction Award. Think about it. You, me, the rest of Andy's Army. Together we can collaborate and make this happen, folks. I don't have to tell you, how cool would it be to play a small part in getting the legendary comedian Andy Kaufman inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame Class of 2014. Wherever you visit online, I want you to hashtag AK4WWEHOF 2014. Let me say it again. Hashtag AK4WWEHOF 2014. Wherever you go, Facebook, Twitter, I want you to hashtag it. I want you to tell your friends. I want you to tell your family. I want you to stop people on the street, people you don't even know. And I want you to say, hey, let's put Andy Kaufman in the WWE Hall of Fame Class of 2014. I know you can do it. Remember, hashtag AK4WWEHOF 2014. And don't forget to visit me on Twitter at MaskTweeterX.